Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Diani, and if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in as always. As I'm sure you guys can tell by the title, I have some pretty big news to share. Dun dun, I moved. God supernaturally relocated me this past week, and it has been a whirlwind. It's been super crazy, super hectic, super awesome. I'm super blessed, and I can't wait to share my testimony. It is going to be a packed one. I'm going to try my best not to get off topic and ramble like I tend to do, but please bear with me because this is going to be one of those videos. And I want God to get all the glory, so without further ado, let's get into it. I have my notes sitting in front of me, so if I look down, that's why, because I be checking out sometimes. I'm just gonna jump right in. I'm just gonna start when God initially told me that I was gonna be moving, and he instructed me to start packing my bags, packing my boxes up, whatever. At the time, I was living with my parents, had my own room. Wasn't always the case, but that's another story for another time. And yeah, God told me to pack my bags, okay? I had been seeing different videos show up on YouTube. I had been receiving different confirmations, and I was like, okay, God is definitely telling me it's time to move. And the final confirmation I remember receiving was a video called Rebecca, It's Time to Move, or something along those lines, okay? So it was very prophetic, and it spoke right to me, and I was like, yep, I'm gonna pack. So I did. And little did I know I wasn't going anywhere for another 9 months, okay? But had you asked me at that point in time, I thought I was moving the next week. That's how excited and ready I was to go. But God had a lot he needed to prune me up. He had a lot he had to reveal to me. I just didn't know that. Okay, I wasn't gonna talk to you guys about my job situation at that point in time, but I feel like it's really pertinent to the story because I did this move, no money saved up, nothing. I had like nothing to me besides my faith in God, a lot of stuff, no plan, okay, no plan. I was in debt. I had debt, all right, and I still do, and God still did this for me, so do with that what you will. So from March, when God told me I was going to move, to November, when I actually picked up and left my parents' house, I worked at an insurance company where I literally made not a single dime, not a penny, nothing. I thought it was a waste of time, but I feel that it was God exposing me to getting comfortable and talking to more people. Not too long ago, he led me to start my TikTok. I don't know. I'm still trying to understand why I went through that. Maybe it's because I was so desperate to have a job, even though it wasn't necessarily something I wanted to do. I think I wanted it to be for me, and it simply was not. Shortly after I started working for the insurance company, I actually met someone who I went to high school with. We never talked, and we started hanging out. We started getting to know each other a little bit better. She's a super sweet girl, and she invited me to work at her family's Puerto Rican Caribbean restaurant in the area, and I was super excited because I knew that my parents would at least see me getting some money in, because that's a big thing for them. That was a big thing for them. It was me bringing in income. I'm not gonna be living there rent-free, eating up all of their food, quote unquote. I wanted to have stable income because my business at the time was bringing in money, but it wasn't stable. So I knew that by me getting this job, my parents would at least, kind of get off my back about that, and I could focus on saving up money and trusting God to move me whenever it was that would be. I worked at this restaurant from, I wanna say, April or March. I think it was at the end of March I started working for this restaurant. I cannot remember. And I stopped working for them in August. All the while, God was putting it on my heart that working a 9 to 5 was not for me. And when I say 9 to 5, I mean working for, under anybody, any company, any business. I was supposed to be bringing in my own income. I was supposed to have my own businesses. I was supposed to be the one employing others, and I couldn't shake this feeling. But everything I was facing financially literally in the flesh was telling me, you need to have a job, you need to have someone supplying you with income, you need to know when every check is coming in. And that's what I felt I had to do. So really, I stayed at this job because I felt like it wasn't time for me to go yet. I felt like there were things that God needed me to do or he needed to share with me. So I was obedient and I stayed at this job, and I learned a lot from the owners. They were such amazing people. They are such amazing people. They are spirit-led and they are believers themselves, and it was truly a blessing being able to witness what it's like to be a business owner and be a part of the kingdom and have a purpose in edifying and uplifting God's children. So it was truly a blessing working there. Something came up where they had to leave to take care of some family business. It was nothing bad, but I ended up having no work for a month. And before I left this job, on July 17th, I went to a women's conference. Okay, this was a church conference, and there it was prophesied to me that I am indeed not meant to work for anyone, and that it is no longer God's will for me to pursue 9-to-5s, for me to pursue working under and for other people. And I remember all I could do was cry, because that was confirmation for me. It wasn't new news. I already knew this. The day after this conference, literally the day after, my friend's dad, one of the owners of the restaurant, it's owned by her parents, he offered me the management position at the restaurant. And when I tell you I was floored, I was literally thinking to myself, this would happen to me. I would get this offer right after God told me that it's not what he has for me. I was so conflicted, and the first thing that came to my mind was my family would be so proud of me. I would have a higher paying job. I would have more stable income. They wouldn't be worried about what I'm doing and what I'm not doing. They would see that I'm doing something. All I could think about was how disappointed they were going to be in me when I made the decision not to take this offer. I was honest with the owner, and I told him I need to really pray about this. I need to think about this because it doesn't feel right just jumping on the opportunity. So I prayed about it. I really did. And there came a point where the pressure it built up. And I shouldn't have told my family about the offer, because the second I did, there came the enemy behind them. They did not have bad intentions at all, but the enemy was using them to put pressure on me, to convince me that me not taking that would be the stupidest thing I could ever do. There's so much pressure. I cannot even explain how much anxiety I felt about what was going on. I didn't want to disappoint them, but I wanted to be obedient to God. I didn't know what to do. And I literally crumbled. I literally gave in, and I regret it because it made the situation worse in the end, kind of. Everything still worked out, but there were some things that happened unnecessarily that really didn't have to, which I'm about to get into. But on the last day that we were working at the restaurant before the owners had to close up for a little bit, I ended up just telling the manager, I told him, I'll take the offer. Like, I'll be your manager when you guys get back. And at the time, it was supposed to be about 3 weeks, okay? And the second I got home, I was like, why did I do that? Why did I tell them that I would take the offer? Why did I do that? Because now I really need God to come through and further confirm, because it does not feel right. And I didn't really understand if it didn't feel right because it wasn't something that I desired to do per se, or if it was simply because God told me, no, don't do this. There were just so many voices in my ears, and I had a really hard time discerning, okay, what does God want me to do? Even though deep down I already knew. So over the next 3 weeks, while the owners were gone and the restaurant was closed, I just prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. I never stopped seeking God every single day. I asked him and I said, God, I need you to tell me. I need you to show me. I need you to confirm, because there's something in me. It doesn't feel right. I feel sick. When I think about working as manager, I think about how much time is going to go into it and how much responsibility I'm going to have for their restaurant. And it's not that I can't do it. It's that it would take away the time that I need to pursue what you've put on my heart to pursue. This feels like I'm stepping into someone else's role. It feels like it's not meant for me. I remember asking God, and I said, if you do not want me to take this offer, when they come back to Texas and my friend's mom, the owner, messages me, I just pray that when she messages me, she doesn't say anything that makes me feel trapped into moving forward. But instead, she says something that opens the door for me to decline, even though I already said I would do it. I know that was a mouthful, but it happened exactly like that. And I knew what I needed to do. I just needed God to help give me that push to do it, because I was really scared of disappointing these people, because they had been so amazing. They had been so kind and so giving and so helpful and so encouraging. I did not want to let them down. So the day came, and it was actually delayed. I think it was a week to 2 weeks later than they were supposed to come back. But the day came where my friend's mom texted me, and she said, "Hi, Diani, are you still able to come work with us?" And I was like, thank you, God, because had she said it any other way, I would have felt pressured into saying yes. But the fact that she asked if I was still able to work with them, I knew that was my confirmation. And I prayed. And I still took an entire day to respond, because that's how scared I was. That's how bad I felt. But by the time I did, I just told her, I'm really sorry about the inconvenience, but it doesn't feel right taking this opportunity. And, for the past few weeks, God has been speaking to me about how it's not what he has for me. I basically just gave her the gist of everything, and I apologized from the bottom of my heart, because it's not like me to get people's hopes up and then let them down. I know how that feels, and it's never my intention to do that to anybody. And I felt so bad, because I knew that they were gonna have to look for someone else to be manager. And I knew that they were in a desperate position, and that's what made it worse. And that's why I was beating myself up for even saying yes in the first place. For not being strong enough to say, I can't do this for you guys. I cannot be the one to take on this position, because I do not feel that it is what God has for me. She didn't respond, and I was heartbroken. I felt so bad, but I was like, you know what, God? I did it. I did it, and all I can do is move forward from here. And the enemy was attacking me, trying to make me feel guilty, trying to make me feel like I was the worst person in the world for doing what God told me to do. And God was encouraging me, and he was telling me, beloved, I will never hold what you do over your head like this. This guilt that you're feeling, this condemnation, is not from me. You did what I told you to do. I'm proud of you. I know it wasn't easy, but wait till you see what I'm about to do in your life. Oh my gosh, you guys. Anyways, okay. So it was August 30th that I sent my friend's mom that message. September was when God literally isolated me in my own family's house for like 2 weeks straight, okay, maybe a little over 2 weeks. And I literally barely left my room. I showered, I used the bathroom, I ate, but I barely left the house. I barely left my room. And it was because God was downloading supernatural ideas for my business and for my ministry. He put a fire in my spirit to build a website, to start implementing things, to start planning things out. My family thought I was insane. And I will not lie, for the first 2 weeks of September, I didn't tell them that I declined the management job, because I was so scared. I was so scared. But there came a point where I was just like, yeah, I didn't take it. I didn't take it. And that released a whole can of worms, to where my parents specifically were on me about getting a job, about bringing in stable income, about you know, not living at their house rent free and eating up all their food. And I don't think I eat that much, but you know, I get where they were coming from. And it just became a fiasco is the best way I can put it. It was super stressful. I was always filled with anxiety. I felt like I couldn't be around them for too long without them bombarding me with questions. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. But I kept focusing on the ideas and the plans that God was giving me. And every time my parents asked me about a job, I told them I'm looking, or I told them I'm not getting a job. I can't. Every time I told them what God told me, an argument would arise, and it was just super unhealthy, super anxiety inducing. And fast forward, it all kind of boiled over into October. My mom and I got into a pretty heated argument about, you guessed it, work and her expectations. And don't get me wrong, I love my parents to death. All this has been hashed out because God did what he said he was going to do, but that's for later on in the story. Yeah, and long story short, we ended up coming to an agreement that I was going to leave the house, okay, on like October 15th or something, or the 17th, I don't remember. And it didn't happen. She said things in the heat of the moment, and I was like, you know what, fine, yeah, I'm leaving by October 17th. And that wasn't God's will, so I was sitting there looking stupid because I wanted that to be the case. I wanted that to be what God had for me. I just realized that I was looking at my camera and now I'm looking at the screen. Please forgive me, but I'm not gonna re-record this. I am tired, it is late, and this needs to get out because, like I said, God needs the glory. So yeah, I didn't end up leaving when I really, really wanted to, and my parents, you know, came back at me talking about, well, I thought you were leaving and I thought God was gonna do this and da-da-da-da, and I was like, I thought so too. I don't know what's going on either. And oh my gosh, y'all, my faith was absolutely being tested in that moment. This entire time, really, my faith was being tested to the utmost. Ooh. It was around this time that my parents drew up an eviction notice. Yup. An eviction notice, and I was set to leave on the 9th of November. I didn't know where I was gonna go, but I was completely on board, and I had peace about it, to be honest. I was like, you know what, didn't get to leave in October. This time around, I'm going to leave. I don't know where I'm gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I do not have a stable job. I do not have stable income. I'm in debt, okay? What am I gonna do? I don't know, but God's gonna take care of me. That was basically my mindset. I was just ready to get out. I was ready to go. A few days before I actually left my parents' house, okay, a friend of mine, I love her. She is so sweet. She's so sweet. I actually took care of her elderly mother last year from April to November. And she ended up moving her elderly mom with her to Tennessee. So her mom is no longer in Texas. She came back to Texas to take care of her mom's house and basically get it renovated and prepared to either sell or rent. She was still deciding at the time. She ended up coming back to Texas around this time, and she reached out, we reconnected, and at this point in time, we were not super duper extremely close, but I was still fond of her. I still had a lot of love for her because she was really sweet and she was always really helpful, and I took care of her mom, and I really care for her mom. We're catching up over the phone, and she invites me to go and spend some time with her at her mom's old house, which is about 30 minutes away. So I do that. My car's not working at this point in time. Like, I don't have a battery. I have like a third brake light that needs to be put in order for it to get inspected, and on top of that, it's not registered because I thought I was gonna sell the car. There's a whole lot that goes on with that, but I ended up keeping it. It wasn't God's will for me to sell it. I really wanted to, but I feel like there's a reason he wants me to hold on to it for now. So she paid for a Lyft for me to go and visit her, and I can't remember if I told her that I was getting kicked out in person or if I ended up telling her this over the phone after I had already visited her. But at some point I ended up telling her, yeah, I'm getting kicked out. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure it out. And I wasn't trying to, do anything or nothing, I just simply was letting her know what was going on because she asked, how I am, and I was being honest. God put it on her heart to offer me a place to stay. And I'm so grateful because literally she is going to be such a catalyst in this entire story. All right. So I'm like, okay, so when I leave here, I know I at least have somewhere to go. I'm not going to be homeless because I told God, I'm leaving the house. I know that, but I do not want to be homeless. I don't want to be sleeping in my car. Not that I can't anyways because it doesn't drive. I don't want to be staying in hotels. I don't want to be staying with people I don't know. I don't want to have to experience that. And I said, God, if you have me moving out of my parents' house and I'm not going to my promised land just yet, then make a way. I don't know what you're gonna do, but make a way. And this was his way. He was using my friend. Now this next part is kind of funny in my opinion because I literally was just all over the place, but I made plans with my friend to go and visit her the day before I was supposed to leave my parents' house. Okay, so on November 8th, I made plans to go and just talk to her a little bit more at the house, okay? Because she wanted to talk about the house and what we were going to do and what I was going to do and all this stuff. Last minute, as I'm on the phone with her, we're texting actually, and she's telling me that the lift is on its way to pick me up, she tells me to bring over a blanket. And I was like, oh, I wasn't planning on spending the night, but I was like, yeah, whatever, like I'll just spend the night and then come back the next morning, grab some of my stuff, and then go back to the house. Like I can always get another lift. And that wasn't the case. I spent the night and then things just kind of happened in a way where I wasn't able to go back to my parents' house. One, I did not realize how expensive lifts were. I did not have the money for a lift, and I was not about to ask her to pay for me to go back to my parents' house so I could get some of my stuff and get makeup and get like some more clothes and all that stuff. So I just shut up about it. I literally went there the previous night with 2 pairs of pants, a pair of sweatpants and a pair of jeans, some loafers, basically house shoes, and I think 2 t-shirts. I brought a toothbrush, I brought some toothpaste, I brought like some soap for my face, but I was not prepared to be there for the the amount of time I was about to be there, which was like, I think almost a month, okay? It was a while before I was able to go back to my parents' house and actually get some of my stuff. And it was a struggle. It was rough. I actually washed my clothes by hand because there was literally no washer and dryer in the house because we're preparing to get it rented. Crazy. I really don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit. So I'm at this house from November 8th to December 2nd. And throughout this entire time, I'm spending time with my friend. We're getting to know each other better, and honestly, we're much closer now because of this entire experience. She's like a second mom to me. We spent a lot of time cooking good food. We were praying together. We were having fun. We were talking like girls do, and we were helping each other out. You know, she needed help with some stuff around the house, and then she helped me so much. She literally insisted on paying to get my car fixed. And this was really uncomfortable for me because I love doing for others, and I get really uncomfortable when people do a lot for me. I just have a really hard time accepting gifts from people, accepting kind gestures from people. And that's something God is working on with me because he revealed to me that rejecting his blessings, rejecting those who he has sent to help me is a form of pride. So I really have to work on that. And it is by the grace of God alone, I've mentioned this before, that I literally was able to shut my mouth and allow my friend to help me with these things. Because if it were up to me, I would have said no. I will literally remain carless. I do not mind. I don't want you paying for all of this. It was so hard to let her do this for me, but I knew that it was God. I knew that she was God sent, and I knew that he was using her to bless me during this time. So my car gets fixed. I'm able to drive it, I'm able to get it registered, I'm able to get it inspected, I'm able to get it reinsured. Okay, crazy. And after the car is fixed, now the main focus is, okay, how are we gonna get this house fixed up for people to move into? And on top of that, what are we gonna do about me not having a job? I started applying to jobs. Even though I knew God was telling me not to apply to jobs, I still felt more peace about it than I did in the past, okay? and I was applying to different kinds of jobs. Now, something I completely forgot to mention is that around the time that God was revealing it to me that I wasn't supposed to work for anyone anymore, He also revealed where He wanted me to move. Not a lot of people know where it is that I relocated to, and I kind of wanted to keep it that way, but I feel led to be open. I'm not going to give y'all specific details, but around June or July, my mom was looking into getting a new car, and she ended up getting hers from Dallas, which is where she was looking to get her new car. So we ended up driving to Dallas twice to look at the car and then to purchase it, and each time I had to drive her SUV back to where it is that they live. Each time we went to Dallas, I felt like God was just highlighting the place to me. And I had been thinking about where He wanted me to move. There was a place in particular I thought He was speaking to me about, but I realize now that it wasn't the place He had for me. He was simply using that place to highlight the fact that He wanted me to move, if that makes sense. That's really not a whole nother video, but I don't really feel like getting into it right now. But just know this place was not what He had for me, but He was using it to speak to me about moving somewhere else. I was really seeking God, and I was like, okay, so if you don't want me moving here, where do you want me moving? And we went to Dallas for my mom's car, and I was like, you want me to move to Dallas? This big old city? Like, I've never been the type of person who wants to move to a city. I like the quiet, I like peace. I don't like the hustle and bustle. Not that I've necessarily experienced it, but I also didn't like the idea of driving and having to deal with so much traffic. So I always told myself, a city is just not for me. But lo and behold, God was really putting it on my heart. And I remember for weeks before I actually went to Dallas for the first time with my mom and my sister, I was seeing 17 and 7s and 7-1 and everywhere. I didn't know what it meant. And then we went to Dallas, and all I saw on the signs were 17, 7-1, 7. I was like, oh my goodness, Dallas, God, Dallas. So He ended up kind of just confirming that to me, and I knew the general area that I was going to be going to. So fast forward back to when I'm with my friend in her mom's house, I start looking for jobs in the Dallas area, in the DFW area, okay? And I was looking at business and marketing jobs, and I landed like 0 interviews with any jobs way before this point. So I had given up on looking for jobs, just like God told me, stop looking for jobs. And then all of a sudden I started getting interview after interview after interview, and I was super excited, and I was going to these interviews, and I was like, oh, this is great, this is exactly what I want to do. And then I was like, this is not what I want to do. Everything kind of had a caveat to it, and I was like, the opportunity sounds great, and then the opportunity sounds great, but, and I was like, yeah, this isn't it. And I had to decline each job that ended up wanting me because it didn't feel right. And I was like, I did it again, God, but at least I didn't sign on to a job that I knew was not meant for me. During this entire time, as I'm looking for jobs, as my friend is working on her mom's house and we're just spending time together, I'm looking for apartments in the area, I'm looking for different housing situations, I'm trying to figure things out. My friend recommends that I start looking into roommates, okay? And I was like, not really feeling the idea because I didn't want to live with anybody else. I wanted my own space. I wanted to be alone. I didn't want to, have someone in my bubble and, have to keep an eye out for, are they in the kitchen, or are they using the bathroom, or can I play my music this loud at night, and can I worship without feeling judged, and can I pray without feeling judged, like all of that. I just didn't want to deal with it. But I was like, you know what? God hasn't told me not to look at roommates, so I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to move in faith and trust that God will lead and guide me as I go. So I did that. We start looking at different Airbnb situations. She recommends I look on Craigslist, and I had a feeling that wasn't going to pan out. I was like, yeah, Craigslist is a little bit shisty, so we might not go with anybody from Craigslist, but I knew that God was going to cut that off if it wasn't for me, which He did. And nothing from Craigslist. And I remember we were just looking on different websites and like on Facebook groups and, different people looking for roommates in the area. So I knew where I needed to go. I just didn't know what I was gonna do, how I was gonna get there per se. I ended up making a profile on roommates.com, and you know, I filled out the information about myself. I uploaded some pictures, which I felt kind of weird about putting pictures on the website because I was like, what if some creepsters want me to move in with them and they're like, oh, she's cute, let me message her, like, let me lower the price so she'll stay with me. I was kind of, you know, I was a little bit hesitant to do that, but I felt peace about it at the same time. And I was like, God's not going to let anything happen to me. And if I want to see what these people look like, I would want them to see what I look like. So there are no surprises and nothing, you know, weird is going on. So I did that, and I talked about what I do. I talked about my faith. I mentioned that I'm a blogger, that I'm an influencer, that I have a faith-based business, so on and so forth. I was just honest and forthcoming, and you know, my personality really did shine through my little bio, or whatever you want to call it. Even though I had no idea what I was going to do for money, even though I had no idea if I was going to get a job, I had no idea. I just put like $600. My friend did offer to help me, and she said that she wanted to help me get on my feet. She wanted to see me be successful and get where God needed me to be until he opened the door for me to take care of these things on my own. And so grateful. I literally, wow. But some of the places she was showing me were like $500 and up. So I was like, okay, like I'm gonna put like $500 to $600 because I want to stay in her range. I don't want to do anything above what she's gonna pay because I don't want to seem greedy. So I put like $600 max. And I remember after I made my profile, made it live, you know, I got some matches, and I was like, I'm not sure about these. There was a guy that I matched with who, his ideal roommate was not even a woman. It was a guy, okay? And he said he was a believer, but I had a feeling that there was something else going on and he had some other intentions, so I'm glad that God cut that off. Because I literally told God, he literally messaged me on roommates.com, and I remember thinking, the price is right, it's nice, the place is decent, you know, it's not bad, it's clean, he's got a dog, I'm not really a fan of that, but I can make it work. All right, it's not ideal, but I'm willing to settle because it's not bad. It could be worse, okay? He's like 30 something years old. So I message him back, and my friend is like, you know, you definitely want to talk to them beforehand to make sure that they're normal, that they're not crazy, and even though it says he's a Christian, like, you know. So I was like, you're right. And so I told him, you know, is it okay if we talk on the phone before, just to make sure that, you know, everything's kosher? He was like, yeah. So I was like, bet. So he gave me his number, and before I texted him, I was like, God, something don't feel right. If you don't want this to work out, don't let him text me back. And it hurt saying that because I felt like this was the only option I had at the point, but I knew that if God didn't want it to happen, if he had something better, if he knew what this person's intentions were, he was not gonna let it happen. I kid you not. I sent that text and it went green. Like, you know, Android, like, you know, and typically when you don't have service on, no offense, when you don't have service on like an iPhone, and you know, like the message will send green as like a text message instead of an iMessage, and that hadn't happened up until that point, okay? I'm so serious. It sent green, and I don't think he ever received the message. I literally think that God did not let the message send. And I remember I was like, if he doesn't respond in the morning, I know God interceded and this is not going to work, and it's not intended for me to go there. And he didn't respond in the morning, and I was like, okay, God. I had a feeling, but I was like, all right, let your will be done. I continued getting matches, and there was a few that I was really excited about. Like one girl, like she was charging like $600, and her apartment was like full of plants, and it was so cute, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to live there. But then the idea of having to share that space with somebody, I was like, you know. And I was like, you know what? It was between her and another girl, all right? And I wanted to message them, but I felt led to bring it to God again. And I was like, God, these girls can see on their profile that I'm a perfect match for them according to the price that they've listed, according to the location. So if they don't message me by tonight at midnight, I know that it's not intended for me to go there. And the thing is, the thing that I want a lot of believers to understand, whether you're new in the faith or you've been in it for a while, you are allowed to ask God for confirmation. You are quite literally allowed to ask him to confirm what it is that you feel he's putting on your heart. If he tells you something and you feel, okay, I'm not supposed to do that, or I'm supposed to pursue this, you can ask him to confirm it, because he wants you to make the right decision too. He wants you to make the right decision. So with that being said, don't be afraid to ask for confirmation. But yeah, the girls didn't reach out, and I was like, yep, just keep trusting God, he's gonna provide. I remember it was around this time I had a conversation with God. I was praying, and I was just telling him everything that I desired, you know, just telling him my thoughts, telling him what I thought about everything that was going on. And I remember specifically saying, God, it'd be great if I could just pay a couple $100s a month for a clean space, you know, not having someone all up in my bubble, where I can focus on what you called me to focus on. A couple $100s would be great, but I know it's not realistic. So I let it go. I literally let it go. Y'all, God literally took my request and he ran. He ran. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys. The next day, I'm pretty sure it was either the next day or the following day. I'm pretty sure it was the next day. I got a message on roommates.com, and it was a man telling me about how him, his wife, and his daughter are looking for someone to share their house with, you know? And I saw share, and I was like, I don't know. But God was like, shh, Diani, keep reading the message. And he said that they travel a lot. They're not really gonna be in the house at all for a while, and that it's brand new and they're excited to share it with someone. And he mentioned that we share a faith and we share a love for Jesus Christ and a desire to expand his kingdom. And I saw that, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, I'm just thinking about it. God is so good. He asked, you know, if I'm interested to get back to him, so on and so forth. So I did. I was so ecstatic. I told my friend, she was super excited. She was like, oh my gosh, like God did this, oh my gosh. And yeah, so I reached back out to him. I probably should have prepared the screenshots. If I include a screenshot, I'm gonna put it right here, and then you guys can see like what he said. I'm gonna mark out his name and all the personal stuff, but I just want you guys to get an idea. The messages that I put up here will confirm if he told me that it was only going to be $200 a month. $200 a month. Exactly. And that it would include everything. Everything. No extra fees, no additional fees. Everything would be included in a brand new house. A brand new house. Okay, and this house was unfurnished. There was nothing in this house. They had just purchased it, but they weren't going to be living in it for a while due to their careers, which I cannot really get into detail about that. They work for the government, quite literally. That's all I can say. I'm just shocked that God led them to little old me, and that he brought our paths together, because they were trusting him for someone who's trustworthy to keep an eye on the house, to, you know, help maintain it, clean it up from time to time, be here when maintenance guys come in. And I needed somewhere to be where I could focus on everything that God has called me to do without feeling the pressures of society pushing me up against a wall and telling me I have to do it this way, I have to do it that way. Sorry, my lips are getting a little dry. So the following day, I ended up talking to his wife on the phone, and we caught up, and literally I ended up mentioning Luke 1:37 to her, and that was confirmation for her, because she had just talked to her daughter about that morning, and she was planning on going somewhere to visit family. She wanted to meet me and my friend, and we were talking about, you know, I don't know how far out it is. I don't want you to have to drive too far out just to come and see us. But it just so happened that her destination, we were literally on the way. And I was like, wow. We were both like, wow, on the phone. Like, we were just really processing how God was like doing this. He was really doing this. And just hearing her story and hearing what her and her husband do, and the kind of lives that they lead, it is such a blessing that I get to witness what he's doing in their lives and vice versa. So a few days after Thanksgiving, she ends up coming by. We spend like about an hour and some change talking, and I share a little bit of my testimony. She shares a bit of her testimony, and we basically talk about everything that's about to go down and how, you know, I can move in whenever, and my goal was to move in by November 30th or December 1st. We go over the rental agreement and we go over the expectations and all of that, and it was just so smooth. It was such a smooth, easygoing process. So we plan to drive out to the house and see it in person and just go over some more information with her, pay the first month's rent, and we do that. We drive out and we visit the house, and it's even more amazing in person, and she's super excited, she's super bubbly, she's such a sweet person. I was able to bring some of my stuff from my friend's house to that house and just put it in the room and prepare for when I actually drive down there to move in, which was on December 1st. You know, I ended up saying my goodbyes to my friend. We ate dinner together the night before I left, and you know, it was a little bit emotional for me because I was like, wow, I've been here for a month. Feels like I've been here longer. And you know, this person has been such a blessing in my life, and her heart is so big and so full of love for other people. And even when I was there, I noticed how much she was doing for other people in her life. It wasn't just me. So God, I know he is going to absolutely bless her for everything that she did for me. I am so eternally grateful. But yeah, December 1st at around 7:30 in the morning, I left and I drove the 3 hours to where I am now currently located in the DFW area. And I'm here in this 3-bedroom house all by myself. This is my room, by the way, that I'm sitting in right now. I'm so blessed. And something that I think really stands out to me about this entire experience is the reaction of my family when it happened. Because something that God really highlighted to me is that when he speaks a thing to his children, when he tells his children that he's going to do something in their lives, not everyone is going to understand, not everyone is going to agree. And these are going to be people that you would expect to be on your side. And technically they are, because they want what's best for you for the most part. They do want to see you succeed, to see you safe, and to see you happy. But a lot of times it's in ways that they feel would suit you best, in ways that they feel society will accept and will last longer, will actually be successful, when that's not the case. This experience has truly, truly solidified my faith. And there are still things I'm trusting God for that I'm getting a little shaky from time to time, but I know God's gonna come through. And something I really, really, really learned throughout this entire journey is the importance of depending on God and not depending on man. And when God sends help, yes, accept that help, because that's of God. He's gonna take care of his children no matter who he needs to use, no matter how he needs to do it. He's going to come through on your behalf. But it's when we have our own expectations and we have our own idea of how it's supposed to look that we end up having our hope deferred, that we end up getting our hopes up and then experiencing them getting dashed because it didn't happen the way we thought it was gonna happen. It didn't look the way we thought it was gonna look, you know? And I know that this is only temporary. I'm not gonna be here for, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, but I know it's not gonna be for a very long time. God already revealed the apartment that he wants me to move into when I move again. So I know that this is really just a place of transitioning. And there's a lot that he needs me to build while I'm here, but he needed me to do it with peace. He needed me to do it in a place where the volume of other people's voices and opinions was muted. He needs my focus to be on him during this point in time. And I'm super excited for what he's doing. But yeah, here I am 9 months later from the time that God told me, what was that? I don't know what that all these little fuzzies are, I'm so sorry. But yeah, here I am 9 months later from the time that God told me I was going to be moving. I finally gave birth to the promise that God gave me. Sorry if the lighting looks a little bit different, which I'm sure it does. My camera was acting a little bit funky, so I had to restart the video. But I'm just gonna say my quick goodbyes and then insert a quick house tour so you guys can get an idea of just how good God is. He's good all the time, but I'm super excited to show you guys the house. I'm now looking directly into my phone camera. This is so uncomfortable for me. I need to invest in a real camera. But I love you guys. God loves you. Thank you so much for tuning in as always and for sticking around if you stuck around this long. I know it was a really, really long one. I will talk to you soon. Bye. Okay, I'm in the process of editing the video right now and I'm getting ready to upload it, and I felt God impressing it on my heart that I need to clarify something, or really rather bring something to your attention. I don't feel that I went deep enough into the reaction that my family had to what God did in my life, and I feel like I should have expounded on that a little bit more, in the sense that I don't want to make it seem like my family are the villains or the bad guys in this story. God simply desired to allow their eyes to remain veiled to what it was that he was doing so that he could get the utmost glory out of the situation. This entire experience has only brought me and my family closer. There had been a lot of division between my family and I around the time that these things were happening, but when God brought forth this promise and he did what he promised he was going to do, my family's eyes were essentially opened. And through my testimony, they came face to face with God's glory. They have relationships with him. They are believers. God desired to bring them to a deeper level of faith. And that's not a bad thing. God taught me throughout this entire experience how to really truly walk in unconditional love, understanding that just because they don't see what God sees and just because they don't understand what God is doing in my life does not make them bad, horrible people. They love me. They wanted the best for me. They just didn't understand. After this thing happened, my mom actually reached out to me and she just apologized for not understanding. And it's not her fault that she didn't understand. Some things, some people will not be able to grasp until they see it, until they see God's hand. And that's how he gets the glory. So if you're going through a similar situation and you are standing on something that God has spoken and the people around you think that you are absolutely crazy and you feel like you are the only one trusting for this thing to happen, or you feel like there is nobody sticking by your side and nobody has the faith that you have, understand that it's all happening the way it's happening for a reason. Embrace it. Appreciate it, because it is truly an honor to be used by God in that capacity, to be used to make an impact